Hey folks, it's Keith, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, also known as the Shaky Key. Back today with a look at another discussion that's ongoing in the ham radio world. And this is one, it's an interesting one actually. Should an operator use one of these Morse code decoders? Now stop and think about it. Radios are now coming out with them. Certainly the G90 has one. My G90 has a Morse code decoder on it. And apparently there's a brand new IC 7300 Mark II, which is just being announced in one of the hamventions in Japan. That's going to have a built-in decoder as well. Now the IC 7300 is a very popular radio. So you would expect as we go forward, there will be more and more of those people out there, operators out there using a decoder. So the debate generally, from what I can see following the comments, or discussion, it's not really a debate, it's more a discussion, evolves into two sides. Anyone who's involved in the teaching of Morse code, myself included, because I do teach, full disclosure, one of the beginner classes for LICW. If you're involved in the teaching, I think the tendency is to say don't use one, all right, because it's going to slow down your ability to develop that copy practice, to develop the copy sense that you have as you listen to someone sending. And I think generally that's more or less the accepted view amongst people who are involved in the teaching of it. So sure, if you're in one of my classes, I don't want you using one. You're not in one of my classes. None of my damn business. There are a lot of people, and I think the ones who use this the most are the new operators who are just on the air. I enjoy being a new operator's very first contact. I set that up. I do a number of them. I try and do one or two a week if I can, but I just enjoy it. Now, a couple of them, after the conversation is over and they've made that first contact, they'll come back and they say, yeah, I had my decoder, so it sort of helped a little bit. Does that mean that contact is less valid than if they didn't have a decoder? Of course not. It doesn't matter. They got on the air, they had a contact. So yes, when you're learning Morse code, try and avoid the use of one. And yes, I understand when you get on the air, especially those first, who knows, couple of hundred calls, you're going to be nervous, you're going to be stressed, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to glance down and see what that decoder is saying. It's still valid. It's still a valid contact. Will it slow you down? Again, as I said, I think most teachers of Morse code or people involved in the teaching of Morse code will say it will slow down. Your comprehension, your copying a little bit, hold you back. But I've also seen other people in parks who are instructors, who are using a decoder in several videos. And then they would tell you afterwards, reach that point where they were relying on the decoder too much and missing calls because the decoder wasn't pulling them out. So there's pros and cons to this. Practice, yes. Whatever group you're with, whatever club you're learning with, whatever organization, follow their schedule. Try and put in the practice time. And no, don't be like me and sit there for an hour, which is what I used to do in one case, and even a couple of hours trying to do it. Break it down into 10, 15-minute segments, so you can fit it into your day. Not everyone has lots of spare time on their hand. Not everyone who is retired, and even those who are retired often have very little spare time on their hands. So you do what you can to learn Morse code. Why? Because you're driven to learn Morse code. You're driven to get on the air. You're driven to participate. And in the end, that's really what counts. Now, do you need an aid? That's up to you. It's not up to me to say. But for those who criticize people using decoders, stop and think of the other aids that people use. It's not a decoder. Stop and think. For POTA, what do people do? They go to the POTA page. They look up the frequency. They've got the call sign. They've got the words per minute, the park, the state. They have all the basic information they know. All they have to do is go up and say, 5NN, 5NN, your province, and that's basically it. So that's a crutch. That's also an aid. Being able to do that, knowing in advance who that operator is. You're on 14050. Tune it in. Okay, so his call sign says this, this, and this. Let's listen and see if that's the call sign I hear. That's an aid. Is it wrong? No, of course not. No one would say that was wrong. If you look, for instance, at a lot of the people, and I'm one who believes in it, especially for new operators who are just on the air, make yourself a script or a cheat sheet. So you have an idea of what the other person's going to say. Doesn't mean they're going to send that. They probably won't send it word for word. Know what you're going to send back. And when you first get on the air and you're nervous, that adrenaline's going, and you're just in full panic mode, to be able to glance over at that cheat sheet and see what you're supposed to send back, that's a lifesaver. That keeps you on the air. And over time, you get rid of that. But at the beginning, why not use it? Look at the number of activators. Some I know who've watched my videos would never activate a park. And I posted a script that they could use, very simple one. They took that script, they went into the field, they had a ball. Doesn't mean they're going to use that script every time going forward. Of course not. Eventually their skill set will become as such that they don't need to do that. But it's an aid, just like a decoder is an aid. Look at the number of people in parks who use the memory section on their radio, right? They'll send you your call sign, using a paddle or a straight key, usually a paddle. And then they push a button, and you hear, the RST, their location, BK, and you answer, and they come back with BK, thank you very much, by pushing another button. You don't see those videos, but there's a lot of people do it that way. Is it wrong? Is that contact with that park less valid? Of course it's not. Look at the contest operators, single sideband and CW. How many of those operators, all the CQ calls, are a push of a button? In many cases, so is the answer, unless you're doing, a number at the end, number of your contacts, so depending on the type of response. It's another button. Anything wrong with that? No. How many people in contests are using programs that allow them to type and send the Morse code from their laptop? It's an aid. It's accepted. In this day and age, there's lots of things that are shortcuts. And in this case, yes, this is one some people will use. So, when we look at why someone's using a decoder, there's a reason. They're still on the air. It's a valid contact. They're going to get better. And I know a number of operators who I was their first contact, and they used a decoder to help them. And now, my goodness, they're wonderful operators. They're just great. They're head copying, they're head sending, they're just having a ball. So let's not overstudy this. Let people have fun. Let them learn. Everyone learns at a different pace. Everyone learns with different abilities. The key thing is to keep them involved, make it fun, and remember, it's a hobby. It's not a job. It's not the military. It's a hobby. We're all here to have fun. Nothing more than that. It's Keith. Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec. The Shaky Key. Wishing you a great day and have fun on the air. 73.